Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Happy Wednesday. James Rule, XRP. Follow me on X at All the Money. I'll tell you what, we always talk about the major banks, the major financial institutions. For years, we've been asking ourselves, are they ever going to give in to crypto and blockchain and all that wonderful technology? Well, people, it is happening now, and I have some news to tell you today. I have some exciting articles to go over. We're going to make it one and done, and we're going to have a good time doing it. Today's sponsor is Caleb and Brown. Caleb and Brown was at XRP Las Vegas. I got to see Jim Bazzani. I got to see Jake Boyle, my broker. I got to see the entire team. And get this, people. I don't know if you know this yet, but Caleb and Brown now has an office in Florida in the United States. They have an awesome app that goes with their services. They have a phone number you can call and speak to someone in person. They have institutional grade custody, and they are an affiliate of mine. I am a client of theirs. You have a personal broker 24/7, unlimited pairings, the best market prices on all assets, fixed fees on all trades, safe and secure with Fireblocks, and there are no limits. Deposit and withdraw any amount freely, no fees, no restrictions. And when you go to withdraw a massive amount, they are going to work with you on the fees. Be sure to check them out. Sign up for free on the link below. They are Caleb and Brown Crypto Brokerage. And I got to see Jake Boyle. He said, another great year at XRP Las Vegas with Caleb and Brown. My favorite event of the year, honestly, one of the only ones where every attendee has skin in the game. XRP community is strong. Until next time. Absolutely. I tell you what, this event in Las Vegas was personal to me. It was incredible. And I talked about that in my last video. So thank you, Caleb and Brown. Let's go ahead and have a great video. CoinGecko, 2.82 trillion market, up 2.2%. Bitcoin is over 82,000. Ethereum is over $2,400. XRP is $1.45. We are seeing some green in the market. I don't know what's going on. Are there things going on behind closed doors that we don't know about? Absolutely. So let's go ahead and look at things. So XRP adds 1 billion to the market cap in under 60 minutes. XRP's market cap increased by 1 billion within a single hour. On-chain data confirms a surge in high conviction buy orders as Ripple expands its regulated cross-border settlement infrastructure. And at the end of this video, you're going to hear a pretty amazing video clip with Bullish, with Ripple, with Brad Garlinghouse, with Thomas Farley at the very end of this video. So hang tight. There's some really exciting things that you're going to hear. So let's keep it going. So this morning I posted that UBS Group has purchased Grayscale's XRP ETFs in their portfolios. And I posted it, and Chart Nerd reposted it and stated that UBS Group, the world's largest wealth manager with $7 trillion in assets under management, is deepening its crypto presence by investing in Grayscale's XRP ETF, starting with a small investment of 317 shares, which is typical for initial or test allocations by large wealth managers. It's happening, people. $7 trillion in assets under management. You remember I was talking about the banks? DTCC, JP Morgan, Citigroup. Well, here they come, people. Major financial institutions deploy blockchain technology to enhance banking infrastructure. And we thought for years and years this technology is not going to come to fruition until 2030 or 2040. Well, think again, people. And I'm going to read the highlights of this article, and I want to thank Oliver Dell for posting this. It's so exciting to see all of these major players start to have this aha moment like we did years ago when we started investing in Bitcoin and Ethereum and XRP and all these other amazing technologies. So I'm going to read the key highlights, and then I'm going to let you read the rest of it. I always post all of my articles or everything that I present in the description of the video. So click on it below and check it out. So major banking leaders report tokenization enhances traditional financial infrastructure through blockchain integration. Citigroup's tokenized deposit system expanded from millions to billions in transaction volume in over 12 months. JP Morgan's Connexus blockchain network has facilitated over $1 trillion in total transactions, and the DTCC plans to transition portions of its $150 trillion securities framework to distributed digital infrastructure. Distributed digital infrastructure, people. Financial institutions deploy blockchain technology alongside traditional systems to achieve continuous settlement capabilities, and it's happening right now. And you need to read this article. It's got Ryan Rugg with Citigroup. She was at Ripple Swell last November. It talks about Nadine Chakor with the DTCC talking about what's coming, and it's coming in July, people. A16 Crypto just announced Fund 5. A $2.2 billion fund focused on backing founders who turn crypto infrastructure into products people actually use every day. And it deals with stablecoins, and it deals with development, and it deals with all of these wonderful things coming to fruition. Okay, this surprised me this morning because I read this article, and if you know who Michael Saylor is, he's like, sell your kids, sell your house, sell everything you have and buy Bitcoin and never sell Bitcoin. Well, the Bitcoin treasury firm strategy, which used to be MicroStrategy, breaks from never sell approach to the flagship crypto. And I'm only going to read this quote of this article. I'll leave the article below. Michael Saylor, never sell your Bitcoin. I'll never sell all of my Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. We will sell Bitcoin when it's advantageous to the company, Lee said later on the same call. We're not going to sit back and just say we'll never sell the Bitcoin. So the board at Strategy is saying, look, if we have to sell our Bitcoin to take care of our shareholders, we're going to sell our Bitcoin. Things that make you go, Natalia with Proppy. She follows me. I follow her. It is an amazing organization. She was interviewed on CNBC. She's the founder and CEO of Proppy, and they discuss blockchain applications in real estate and how the company is deploying $100 million towards modernizing the closing process for residential homes. And they have been doing this for years. Proppy was one of the first to tokenize real estate, where you could buy a home in Florida with Bitcoin. You can buy a home, somewhere else with different types of cryptocurrencies. And they are integrating blockchain and crypto into their real estate organization. And it's really incredible. It was about a 30-minute interview. I'll leave a link to it below. Wonderful, wonderful organization, wonderful person. I can't wait to interview her. And finally, I'm going to leave it with this. Consensus 2026 happened in Miami. And Thomas Farley with Bullish, who just had a major acquisition, $4.2 billion, sits down with Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO at Ripple, who was just at XRP Las Vegas, and they discuss the SEC. They discuss the Clarity Act, and they discuss mergers and acquisitions. And I'll tell you what, it's really exciting to see what's happening, to see what's going on, to be a part of this community, to be able to share these videos and share this news with you, because many of you out there are you're kind of wondering, what are my investments going to do? I'm sitting on this. I've taken a loss. I don't know what's going to happen. Well, you have to hold it out a little bit longer and let the big players catch up with us. That's what it's all about. So watch this video clip. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you soon. And don't forget, I told you so.
Stage now, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse is in conversation with Bullish CEO Tom Farley. Let's take a listen in.
Federal judge. And for those of you who aren't aware, to take the federal government to court and win a final decision. Did anybody see the Knicks beat the Hawks in Game 6? They beat them by like 60 points. That's the kind of ass kicking we're talking about that Ripple gave the SEC, and that was a...
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. It needed to happen.
And it needed to happen. I won't say more. I'll tell you what I said on my investor call, and I'm curious to get your reaction to it. I'm close to what's going on in Washington as well, and I do think this stablecoin yield portion of the bill was quite important. There's been a compromise that's been reached. I don't love it. I'm sure the big banks don't love it. That probably means it landed in a relatively okay place. But I get the sense our brothers and sisters in the digital asset space are continuing to actively fight almost against this bill just because they can't rally around and say, okay, now's the time. Let's get it done. Let's finalize the DeFi language. Let's finalize the ethics language. And I think it's time as an industry we kind of shut the hell up in terms of fighting against this bill.
Yeah.
And we say, okay, it's time to move. Call our local senator and get this done. I'm curious what your reaction is.
I mean, Tom, you and I are in violent agreement on this. You know, in January, I tweeted out something to the effect of, you know, perfection is the enemy of progress. I agree with you. Do I think the Clarity Act as drafted it's moved a little bit since January, but do I think it's perfect? Hell no. I challenge you to show me any piece of legislation that we would call perfect. And there's trade-offs and compromises. But I do think clarity is better than chaos. And we have been living, particularly with I think a not well-intended SEC under Gary Gensler, we've been living with chaos, where it's just, you know, regulation through enforcement, and you didn't know where they're going to focus their enforcement battle. And as you already pointed out, taking on the federal government, you have an unlimited budget of the federal government to come after you, and a lot of players other than Ripple would have folded. In fact, a story that I don't think is well told is one of the key strategic mistakes the SEC made was picking on Ripple, because we were strong enough to stand up to them. It still took some cojones to do that, but you know, I think they made a bad strategic decision as opposed to building more case law, going after weaker players and getting them to fold, capitulate.
So, Brad, you have built a company that's very innovative and growthy, and you've used inorganic growth, so-called inorganic growth, M&A, to build your portfolio. We too, in our own smaller, more humble way, but exciting way.
By the way, it's not smaller. The largest digital asset acquisition ever is the deal you announced overnight.
That one was bigger. Deal. That was bigger, yeah. Yeah, thanks for. That's
why I feel like I should be interviewing you today. Yeah, like this is your day.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I've loved your acquisition strategy. I'll just say it unabashed, in part because I know the protagonist. I know you and respect you and consider you a friend, but so too Mark Ashe of Ripple Prime, so too Renat Variki, who's, depending on the day, one of my best friends, who are the most annoying people in the world to me. We grew up together. But I love it. Can you just give us, I have a couple particular questions, but can you give us a high level? How's the acquisition strategy doing for you?
Yeah. Look, I think Ripple, and I would say now Bullish, has taken a bit of a contrarian view relative to some crypto companies in their acquisition strategy. And I think a lot of crypto companies are buying other crypto companies and saying intra-echo chamber. And I think what I've seen Bullish do, and certainly what Ripple has done, is say, we're going to go outside the echo chamber and accelerate bringing those non-digital asset native companies on chain. And as you know well, and I'll use Ripple Treasury, formerly G Treasury, as the primary example here. They processed or orchestrated about $13 trillion of payments last year.
13 trillion. I had to ask Brad, I said, I want to make sure I heard that right. It's not really 13 trillion of payments.
Now, what's interesting to me isn't just it's a massive number and that's the opportunity. It's that 0% of those payments went through a stable coin or through a digital asset last year. The opportunity is bringing that over time. And again, the last thing we want to do is for those customers, the American Airlines of the world. I mean, these are big, ranging from Fortune 50 to, you know, mid-sized companies who are benefiting from a dashboard to manage their liquidity, to manage all of the interactions with bank accounts around the world. That's a great business that's growing, but it is bringing them along the journey gently. So, okay, your American Airlines making a fuel payment into the Peruvian sol. Okay, today that's going to take you 4 days and it's going to cost you this much because there's only one correspondent bank that'll enable that. Tomorrow it's like, oh, we could just, in a UI, in the interface of G Treasury, now Ripple Treasury, presenting, hey, we can do that in real time at this cost, and having a treasurer who's managing that payment make that trade-off. And it's going to be crawl, then walk, and then run. And those 13 trillion, I'll go out on a limb and say 5 years from now, I'll say 30% of that in 5 years will be on chain in some way. And I think that is the opportunity. I think it's also the opportunity, equity. Like, I think the powerfulness of like accelerating adoption by buying the largest, I think, transfer agent out there in terms of real world assets, bringing things on chain, I think it's profound.
It's exactly, so what Brad's talking about is we for any of you who haven't seen it, we announced we're acquiring this business, Liquidity, this morning for $4.2 billion.